After the iron blocks of the first and the second generation of the small block, the LS series was an aluminum block. So for example, the C5 Corvette, which came around in 1997, was the main advantage was it was a lighter aluminum block. So it shared very few, if no components besides some of the rotating assembly of the previous generation, but it was an aluminum block. So that was the biggest difference when they switched to the LS series. So they are smaller in displacement. They're typically lighter than Ford engines. And so the LS swap is essentially when you take a newer LS engine and put it into an older Chevy product that would have had the original small block. That is what. Hi, my name is James, and today we're going to be answering the biggest question about Chevy engines, and that is the small block the same as the LS engine, or did it get replaced? Now, the common term is called a continuation of design, which is another word for evolution. So technically, yes, the LS engine did replace the Chevy small block, but in the eyes of Chevy, it's a continuation and an evolution of the first and second generation. So the LS, which would be the third and the fourth continuing generation, started with the 1997 Chevy Corvette, which would be the C5, but it is considered an evolution of the previous design. So while they don't share many parts, engine swapping is very common. So the term LS swap actually comes from the phrase of taking an LS or a third or fourth generation and swapping it into a vehicle, a Chevy or General Motors product that would have originally had a generation 1 or 2. So, and essentially, it's kind of a halfway answer. Yes. My name is James, and today we're going to be talking about the difference between Ford V8 engines and Chevy V8 engines. Now, the way you discuss a Ford engine is a lot different than how you discuss a Chevy engine. Chevy engine, you really are referring to the block size. So the small block is considered the greatest invention that General Motors has ever come up with. It's been used since 1954, and it's still being used on SUVs and pickup trucks today. So when you're talking about Chevy engines like a 409, to say that you're talking about the block. Now, Ford typically are heavier, bigger engines than Chevy. That's historically speaking since the Ford Flathead and the Y block. They are heavier, bigger engines, and they have different engine families. So anything from the Y block to the FE engines to the modular engines to the Windsor engines, they have engine families.